Welcome to Monterey County Pops Pros Teach. I'm Carl Christensen, the music director and conductor of Monterey County Pops. Our orchestra of fully professional musicians presents free concerts of pops and patriotic music throughout Monterey County. During the school year, we visit local schools and conduct clinics and workshops for student musicians in the afternoon. And in the evening, we perform together in a free concert for their community. We are committed to mentoring young musicians, and since we have not been able to visit schools since March, we have created this series of instrumental clinics. They will be broadcast once a week on Comcast Channel 24, and they will also be posted on our website, montereycountypops.org, along with downloadable exercises, tips, and other print material. Bienvenido a Monterey County Pops Pros Teach. Soy Carl Christensen, director musical de Monterey County Pops. Nuestra orquesta de músicos totalmente profesionales presenta conciertos gratuitos de música ligera y patriótica en todo el condado de Monterey. Durante el año escolar visitamos escuelas y realizamos clínicas y talleres para estudiantes músicos por la tarde, y por la noche presentamos un concierto conjunto para su comunidad. Para nosotros, la educación musical de jóvenes músicos es muy importante, y como no hemos podido visitar escuelas desde marzo, hemos creado esta serie de clínicas instrumentales. Se transmitirán una vez a la semana en el canal 24 de Comcast y también se publicarán en nuestro sitio web montereycountypops.org junto con ejercicios, consejos y otro material impreso descargable. And now, please enjoy our trumpet episode presented by our principal trumpet, David Adams. Y ahora disfruten de nuestro episodio de trompeta presentado por nuestro trompeta principal, David Adams.
Hi, fellow trumpet players. My name is David Adams, and I've been playing the trumpet for over 60 years. And music has been really terrific to me. I started when I was about 8 years old, and my grandfather and my uncle taught me, and they were terrific. They gave me lessons early on. And early on, I wasn't a guy that liked to practice a lot. I liked to have fun. You know, I was the guy that wanted to go out and play baseball and football and ride my bike like a lot of young kids. But my father, who was not a musician at all, would ask me at the end of the day, he said, "Well, did you practice?" And I might say, "No." He said, "Well, okay, well, how about if we just take the trumpet back to the store, you know?" And at that point, I was already playing in bands and so forth, and that I really enjoyed the playing in bands part. So I practiced. I started practicing and putting in my time. So it kind of struck a chord with me. Not playing by myself so much, but playing with others. And that's where I got my real joy. Once I started playing in bands, I was hooked and definitely didn't want to return the trumpet. So over the years, despite my shyness, I played in lots of bands and orchestras. I played in every kind of organization. You know, I played in musical shows, I played in jazz bands, I played in rock bands, I played in the orchestra and chamber groups, I played church solos, just about everything you can imagine. I've been fortunate enough to play, and it's been great for me. So, but one thing I always maintained is that it was the fun. I enjoyed getting out there and playing with other people, and that's what I really got a lot out of. Even when I went off to music school, I went to Boston University, I still wanted to have fun playing, you know, so when I'd spent many more hours in the practice room and playing concerts and rehearsals in music school. You play for hours and hours a day, but I still never really had a routine that I adhered to as far as what to make happen. But over the years, I've come to realize that sometimes you do need to take care of some things. So I like to say, pay attention to the basics. And if I have any advice for young people to play, you know, have fun with your instrument, but pay attention to the basics. So every day I get up in the morning, I eat my breakfast, I read the newspaper, and then I go back to my office and I spend some time with my horn. And usually I might even be looking at the computer in between. So, but I do have a couple of things that I have to do every day. First is getting all the air going. And to get the air going, there's a couple of things we have to do. You have to be straight up and down. So one thing I'll do is I'll stand up and then pretend that I'm pulling myself up with a string, and then I sit down straight so that my back is straight. Okay? And that gives me the proper posture. If I'm sitting like this or anything else, I can get a sound out of the trumpet, but it's just not going to be as good. So make sure you're sitting up straight. Some of you may not have the ideal practice situation where maybe you have a stool to sit on or something, but do what you can to get your upper body straight so that your shoulders are directly above your hips, you know, and you can hold the horn out. And then first order of business, I get air moving, and I do simple things, and I change it each day too. So I might do, just starting on an F, I take first 5 notes of an F major scale, and I might go. Very simple, right? And notice that I have one long stream of air. I might tongue a few notes. Then I go up a half step, try it on F sharp. Same kind of thing. Maybe I'll start from the top note. And those are all similar, but I change them a little bit. And the whole point is to make sure I'm getting the sound to spin out of the end of my horn. I've got 4 feet of tubing here, and I've got to get the air going that whole time. I don't play in short little bursts because that doesn't really warm you up. You really need to be able to take deep breaths, like, and then blow out for a long period of time. And I'm sure just about all the wind instruments are very similar. You know, you need to, and then, so you get a jet stream coming out the end of your horn. Okay? So I take care of air that way. Then I do some flexibility exercises. Okay, I would start on, say, a G, and if you look at you might have a piece called the 7 overtone series, and if you look at that sheet, you'll see that all the fingerings, like the first line is all open. And those notes are the overtone series for open trumpet. The second one is second valve, the overtone series for that. And there's 7 combinations: open, second, first and second, 2 and 3, 1 and 3, and all 3. 7 different fingering sets. So I do slurring exercises using that overtone series. And I might start on G. Okay, and that's just a simple one, just using 3 notes. Then I use second valve. notice I'm using one complete breath for the whole thing. First vowel. One and two. Okay, and I do all the fingerings. We don't need to go through them all now, but all 7 fingerings, I'll do entire set. Then I expand it a little bit. Take a rest. Take a rest. And you can vary them, do the patterns. Okay, there's of the overtones, you can start on middle one, go down and up and back and forth and vary them all kinds of ways. Another way to kind of help you change the monotony of doing that same simple exercise is play bugle calls. So most of you know that the trumpet's originally from a bugle. There were no valves on it at all. It was just a simple tube. And you've heard the Army bugle calls for assembly or come to mess, and you can do those. So do them with every fingering. You can do all kinds of bugle calls. You can look those bugle calls up on the web, just the Army bugle calls, and there's dozens of them mean different things. So that's kind of ways that I use to be a little bit more creative with my warm-up. It's not always the same every single day, and I take a half an hour to go through this, this warm-up thing. I take my time, I rest in between, like I play one slur, and then I sit and don't do anything, and then I do the next one, and I do each set of overtones, all 7. And then I try to expand them too. I'm always trying to improve my range. So can I go up higher, for example? If I do, and I'll purposely hold that top note to see how long I can hold it, okay? Now maybe you can't do that top note. Maybe it's only, instead of a C, you're only going to get to a G, and you can hold that G and it will build up the strength in your lips. The important thing though is it's basically athletic. It's like an athlete needs to stretch out his muscles. He needs to do slow exercises, fast exercises. Guys like football players that throw perfect passes every time. They've thrown the pass, every pass that they've done it 10,000, 100,000 times. Some of them are falling down when they do it, and they actually practice that to make it happen. So you've got to do the same thing with all the brass instruments. You need to exercise, and you're building up strength. You're building up lip memory. Your lip has to memorize what it does. And you may not even know that, but when you pick up the trumpet the first time, it sounds pretty like nothing happens, okay? So the purpose of warming up and exercising your lip is to get that lip memory to do exactly what you want it to. And by doing the long tones and doing the slurs like this, you'll get more endurance, and the flexibility exercises with doing the overtone series, going up and down, that's what's giving you that flexibility. That first tune that I played, for example, was called Jada, and I pulled it out because it was a tune that I did as a boy, and I really enjoyed playing it back then. It was by a famous trumpet player named Al Hirt, H-I-R-T. And I thought, well, this is really cool. I could learn how to play this. I put it together piece by piece, and it was fun. It was just fun music, and that's one of the reasons I thought we'd open with that one. I wasn't able to play that unless I had already done my warm-ups, getting back to the basics. Okay, so you've got your range things. So you've taken care of the long tones, take care of your tone. You're listening to your sound all the time. Your flexibility. You're taking care of your lip memory. You're telling your lip, okay, this is what I need to do to play an F or a G or whatever note you want. Okay, and then I'll do some technical things too. Your teachers will always tell you, play scales, play scales. And if we could pull up the one that has the scales on it, it says major scales, looks like this. Okay, now major scales are just collections of notes, and you'll notice they sound all the same. All right, you know the fingerings for your C scale. And then learn your F scale. Now you say, well, why F? Why not D? Or why not? And this is what we call the cycle of fourths. By going through the cycle of fourths, we add a flat each time, so in each new scale. So C scale has no flats or sharps. F scale has, you guessed it, one flat. And then next one, going to have two flats, B flat scale. And go as slow as you need to play it evenly. Okay, now maybe when you get to E flat, which has got three flats in it, maybe you have to go. If you have to go slower than that, do it. What you don't want to do is just do a note, another note, make it random. Go as slow as you need to figure it out. One little trick that I learned a long time ago, when you look at these scales and you say, okay, what's the fingerings? Go ahead and mark the fingerings in if you want to. But another better way to do is say, okay, what notes don't I know? Maybe I don't know A flat is second and third. So I'll circle that note, put the 2 and 3 there. You don't need to put the fingerings for every single note. You can do it for just 1 or 2 notes that you're worried about, okay? But learn all these scales. There's 12 major ones, and then when you really get ambitious, there's minors, and there's dozens and dozens. I can't even remember exactly how many there'd be. But there are dozens of scales that you can learn. Learn the major ones. Learn the major scales. Each one you add a flat, and then as you get into sharps, you're basically subtracting sharps until you end up with the last one would be G major. G major has got 1 sharp. And if I subtract a sharp, I'm back to C major, right? Okay, I didn't go through all 12, but you can see how that works. You add a flat, okay, and then you subtract sharps, and you get all 12 scales. Okay. Now, so the next thing to do is I want to make sure that I'm using those scales to. What I'm doing by the scales is I'm learning all the fingerings and I'm learning all the combinations, and I try to do exercises that will exercise my brain into different patterns. For example, I might do right? Skip 2 notes, down 1, up 2 notes, down 1, okay? Or I could start from the top. Then I've got to F, right? And you can make up your own. You can do little scale patterns. Like if you're an F scale, right? All I did was just up and down, like up 3 notes, down 2, up 3, and so forth. And you can figure out little patterns They're all in a book by Herbert L. Clark called Technical Studies. There's dozens and dozens of pages with different patterns. Maybe you want to skip more notes. Maybe skip. Okay, so you're going to get different patterns. All right, then I say, okay, what about tonguing? I hear people do different kinds of tonguing all the time. Like that first piece I played was a jazzy piece, and the tonguing was odd. Sometimes it was soft, sometimes it was hard. It was a combination of things. So that variety is what you can listen for when you listen to other people play. So tonguing. Now some of you may have wondered, how does those guys play like William Tell Overture? So you say, wow, I'd like to be able to do that. And I remember being very frustrated when I was probably in junior high. How do they do that? It's what we call double tonguing. So normally you're tonguing at the tip of the tongue at the top of your teeth. You probably might have heard that term. Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. Feel where your tongue is when you say that. Tip of the tongue at the top of the teeth. So if you're doing that, that's only going to get you a certain speed. That's as fast as I can go. What I do is I add an extra part of my tongue, ka. Say the word ka, like car, ka, 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 and I combine them, taka, 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 taka. So that's what double tongue is all about. Okay, and I'll just play a little bit of a thing that's a whole, this hexaphonic study, if we can push that one up there. It's a lot of double tonguing. I probably won't play the whole thing, just to. And it goes on for the rest of a page, but I'll cut it short in the interest of time. So that's the kind of thing that you can play when you're doing double tonguing. All right, and I wanted to before we finish, show you some things. There's an equipment list that I'd like you to think about. If you're in the market to buy a trumpet, make sure you buy a brand name. Some people go online and they find a trumpet that's it's only $10 or something, and you say, okay, that must be a real deal. 9 times out of 10, it's a cheaply made thing, and it would be harder to play. So I've listed a couple of brand names that I'd like you to pursue. Yamaha, that's ones that I play. Holton, H-O-L-T-O-N. Bach, Selmer, Jupiter, Getzen, Kahn, Canstol, Cannonball, and Adams. Not mine, but I thought it was interesting to include that. So buy equipment that you can use and that you can do well with. I didn't talk about mouthpieces because that's more of a personal thing, and you just have to find the right size. And I'd like you also to listen to other trumpet players as much as you can. I've gotten a ton of stuff just by listening to other guys, and I want to be able to play like that. I want to be able to do that. You heard me play that Al Hurt piece. I have another one to play for you. It's just tunes that I like doing because I liked hearing the guy. Louis Armstrong in the jazz world, Harry James, Miles Davis, Clifford Brown, you can see the list. Arturo Sandoval, Maynard Ferguson, Freddie Hubbard, Dizzy Gillespie. Those are some of my favorites, and you should have your favorites too. Go on YouTube and pick a name anyway. Wynton Marsalis, pick them out, and there'll be tons of videos you can watch. There's also what we call legit trumpet players. Alison Balsam, Tina Thing Helseth, a couple of Scandinavian young ladies that play terrific, and you should hear them. There's a lot of recordings by them. Sergei Nakarayakov He's a Russian guy that plays incredibly. So go listen to them, even just for a few minutes. The YouTube clips are short, they're fun, and you'll get a lot out of them. There's a bunch of brass groups that you can listen to that I love too, like Monosel Brass is a real humorous group. They play incredibly well. They're monster musicians, but they also put together these comedy acts, like they might play while carrying each other on their shoulders and stuff, and doing, standing upside down and having one guy do the fingerings while another guy does the blowing, and it's really clever stuff to watch, and they're very entertaining. Okay, so listen to people, listen to all good music, but listen to trumpet players in particular, buy good equipment, and always when you're practicing, go back to those basic things that we have to do to make things sound right. I thought I'd finish with another Al Hirt tune, which is another one that I picked up from my youth that I really enjoyed. And again, I picked these because they were fun. And if you have fun with the trumpet, you can play the darn thing forever. I'm 70 years old, I'm still doing it. Still having fun, still trying to figure out all the ways to make it sound better. This is called Clarinet Marmalade. Okay, thank you.